welcome to JohnCarterDrummer.com, and I want to welcome you to my session on time and taste. Time and taste is my philosophy of playing the drums and how I approach playing with musicians, whether I am in a band on a regular basis or whether I am coming into the studio. When I play drums with time, what I'm talking about is the internal and external clock. I'm talking about being able to read charts, and I'm talking about the character of the musician. When you're playing with an internal or an external clock, that can be either you're playing with an actual metronome, but the external clock is something external of me that is keeping time. When you're playing with and you're recording in the studio, or a lot of times if you're playing with tracks live, you need an external clock. You need something that holds the time. You need something that is going to keep you on beat and keep the band in beat. This comes into play when guitar players are starting to use more complex delays like quarter eight notes or various other delays that really impact the sound quality of the overall band. To be a usable drummer in today's world, you have to be able to play to an external clock. But then also, you need an internal clock. An internal clock is not a metronome, but it is, after years of playing, you are actually able to play with an internal solid clock. You're not playing to the 1, 2, 3, 4, the click, 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 but instead in your mind, you're able to play to a solid time. Now that time may have variance, or that time may fluctuate, but this time is very solid, very consistent. Sometimes a thing that I'll do is, or that you will see other drummers do, is they are subdividing in their head. So that sometimes it looks like a drummer is talking to themselves. So they'll be playing 1, 2, 3, 4, or they'll be moving their mouth. And if you'll notice, they're subdividing the rhythm so that it helps maintain their tempo, so that as they play, they don't break off of the tempo that needs to be played. Reading charts. If you want to play with time, you've got to be able to read charts. You have to be able to look at a document that is providing the drummer, the musician, with what needs to be played. If you have a chart in front of you, you have to play what is being expected to play. It's acceptable to play your own grooves, your own style, but if a producer or if a band director wants you to play a particular fill or a particular rhythm at a particular spot in a particular way, you have to be able to read those charts to be able to play it. When you walk into a studio, you may only see the chart for the first time that day, and you need to be able to play it within a few minutes. Reading charts allows you to play with versatility. It allows you to look at a salsa chart, it allows you to look at a rock chart, it allows you to look at a heavy metal chart. It even allows you to look at the guitar or the vocal chart or the symphonic chart, or to look at the band director's chart and allow you to see what everyone is playing. And when you're looking at Drum Magazine or any other drum magazine or Modern Drummer, you'll see that drum charts are all over the place in there. If you can read charts, you can write charts, and if you can write your charts, you can remember rhythms that you made up on your own. Playing with time involves character. You have to be able to show up on time. If someone wants you to play at a particular time, at a particular place, they need to know that they can count on you and that you are going to show up on time. If you can't show up on time, you're not going to get hired, you're not going to get called back. You have to be there. It doesn't matter what you can do on your drum solo, but if you cannot show up on time and be prepared to play on time, there's no way in the world that people are going to count on you. Especially when you walk into a studio and they're getting charged hundreds of dollars an hour for that studio. No one wants to pay for you to set up your drums and for you to sip your latte. They're paying for you to play the drums, not to look cool. Taste. Stick control, style, grooves, equipment. For you to play with taste, you have to have stick control. You need to be able to know what rudiment you want to play when you want to play it. You can't accidentally play a paradiddle. You need to know what you're playing before you're going to play it. You can't accidentally play a rough. You need to know what you're playing when you're going to play it. You can't accidentally play your left hand when you intend to play with your right, or you can't accidentally hold a stick when you actually intended to hit a drum. You need to be able to control the sticks. If you cannot control what your hands are doing, if you cannot control what your feet are doing, there's no way in the world that you can play with taste. Style. You have to play the right thing at the right time. It doesn't matter about your double stroke roll. It doesn't matter about your single stroke roll. The question is, can you play the style that the lead musician wants you to play? Can you play behind the vocalist? Can you support what the bass line is doing? Can the bass line follow what you are doing? Can you play in a manner that the lead guitar player can go on their solo without you running over everything? Style, your style matters. If you're not a heavy metal drummer, don't pick up the heavy metal gig. If you're not a salsa drummer, don't pick up the salsa gig. If you're not a rock and roll drummer, don't pick up the rock and roll gig. You have to be able to play to the style that you are good at. Play to your strengths. Don't play your weaknesses. Yes, go learn salsa. Go learn heavy metal. Go learn jazz. But if you can't play it, then find another drummer that you can hand those gigs off to. There is value in playing well what you do, because you don't want to go and play a salsa gig poorly and lose your rock and roll gig. You don't want to go and play a rock and roll gig poorly and lose your jazz gig. Groove is a word that you'll hear thrown around a lot by musicians. The best way that I can define groove is the difference between two drummers playing the same rhythm. And you hear that learning, that new drummer, or maybe you're that learning, that new drummer, and you're playing that doot, doot, tat, doot, 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 tat, doot, and it doesn't sound groovy. It doesn't sound solid. But you go and you listen to J.J. Johnson play it behind John Mayer, or you go listen to an Adele record, and it's doot, doosh, 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 and it feels good. Yeah, there's mixing that goes in to make it sound better, but when you're in the groove, you hear it, you feel it. It actually makes the song better. Groove isn't just what you're playing, it's actually what's coming out of the individual. That's where music and drumming leaves a science and actually becomes an art form. You either play with groove or you don't. You can't make it up, you can't manufacture it. You have to just play with it. Trying to explain groove is almost like trying to explain what makes a good piece of art a good piece of art. There are some technical details that you can explain, but there's always something a little bit beyond explanation. Taste requires good equipment, and good equipment does not mean expensive equipment. It just means the right equipment. Sometimes you don't need acoustic drums. Sometimes you really do need electronic drums. Sometimes you're playing in a song or in a band that requires that electronic sound. You need electronic drums. If you're playing jazz, you need a big washy cymbal. You need to be able to slosh on the cymbals, and you need to be able to slosh and get the swoops on the hi-hat. If your equipment can't do that, and it's not about the expense, it's about the quality and it's about the rightness of it. If the equipment can't make the sound, then it doesn't matter what you can do. You might need to take a handful of jewelry to the show, because a handful of jewelry just is getting that clunky, crashy sound that you're trying to get that a shaker won't get. Don't be afraid to invent. Maybe playing with a pair of scissors on the rim is going to get the metalier sound that you want that the sticks won't get. Maybe clapping is going to sound better. People are throwing all sorts of stuff, cymbals, towels, papers on top of the drums to get a sound. Get the sound that you need. If you're playing a punk rock piccolo snare on a smooth jazz song, it's going to sound funny. All of these elements for time and taste really do have a big impact on what you are trying to achieve. And it's not about being the best musician, it's about being the right musician. As you are becoming a better musician, you need to consider, am I playing with time? Am I playing with taste? And remember, it's not just about the things that you see other people do, but it's about the things that need to be done in that particular environment. This is JohnCarterDrummer.com, and this is my philosophy of playing with time and taste.